everybody. It is time for reading today. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. We are learning about informational text for the next few weeks, and that is basically nonfiction, books, stories, passages, whatever. It's all nonfiction. And you know, nonfiction is fact talk, right? So there are some different things that nonfiction and informational books have that fiction doesn't have. So when I think about nonfiction, I think about facts. And so because of that, I also think about like table of contents, the text features, which we've been looking at the past 2 days. So table of contents and glossaries and indexes, all of these things fiction books don't have, right? So there's another thing that I think about when I think of informational text, and that would be the author's purpose. Now, they're not trying to entertain me to read this book, right? That author is trying to inform me about something or describe something to me or explain something to me. And we'll go over that in a few days. But I also think about something called text structure. Now, this relates a lot to the passages that we read and the things that we do mainly for the STAR test and sometimes in different books that we'll read. So can you remember the different types of text structure? Remember, text structure is how the author organizes the text. Today, we're going to focus on three of them. Tomorrow, two of them. I am so sorry. And tomorrow, we're going to focus on another 2 of them. So let's go ahead and let me remind you what all the different ones are, and I'll tell you what we'll focus on. So remember, text structure is how the author organizes the text. Authors don't just write books and not organize it. Because if you have a book that's not organized or a passage that's not organized, you're not going to understand what's going on. So they go into writing with a purpose and with a structure in mind. Some way they're going to organize it. So they can organize it in the description. They can do compare and contrast. They can do chronological sequence. They can do problem solution, and they can do cause and effect. Well, today, guess what? We're focusing on the first 3: description, compare and contrast, chronological, and sequence. We're not going to do all of them, just the first 3. So for right now, put problem solution and cause and effect in the back of your mind. So I want to know, what do you remember about these 3 different types of text structures? What do you remember? So I hope that you kind of thought and you did remember something. So description, it's exactly what it sounds like. The author is giving you details about one thing. So let's say I picked up a book about frogs and it gave me so many facts about only frogs. It described the frog to me. It used sensory words and the way it looks, what it eats, all of these things. That would be description. The author's telling me about one topic and describing all of it to me. It's basically in the type. The title of it, description, it's describing. That one shouldn't be too hard to remember. But compare and contrast. This one we see all the time, and you guys do it all the time. Just in your daily life, you all compare and contrast things. So if you, this is going to sound silly, but let's say for lunch, you're offered 2 different things, right? You're going to compare those things, contrast those things to figure out which one you want. Do I want pizza? Do I want a corn dog? I'm going to say, well, I am kind of feeling like some bread, and corn dogs and pizza, they have bread in them, but I think I'm feeling more cheese. Pizza has cheese on it. Corn dogs don't have cheese, so I'm feeling like going with pizza. You guys, y'all rationalize, y'all think about things like that all the time, whether you think I'm crazy or not. So compare and contrast, an author does the same thing. They take 2 things, and I don't know why I always say frogs, but you know what? I'm going to say frogs again. Frogs and turtles. So if you're reading a passage and you see 2 topics in one passage, you are going to know. Say it gives you a bunch of facts about frogs. It gives you a bunch of facts about turtles. And guess what? It's telling you the similarities and differences. That should be a ding, 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 immediate compare and contrast. All the time, I see you guys reading compare and contrast stories, and you have no clue what you're reading. You're like, why is this compare and contrast? I don't really know. And then right in front of your face, it says contrast or compare. If it says compare or it says the word contrast in that passage, it's compare and contrast. Come on. All right, the last one is chronological sequence. Yes, they're different, but we kind of think of them in the same way. So chronological is like a timeline. So you might see things happen like, if I wrote a book about my life, I would talk about when I was born, then kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. That's chronological. It's also sequence. So like a recipe is sequence, or if it uses transition words like first, this happened, then this happened, next, this happened. It gives you kind of steps and it's in an order. That's chronological and sequence. So these three are very different from each other. And we are going to look at some paragraphs today, and we're going to decide which ones are description, compare and contrast, chronological sequence. So I have found these paragraphs. They're all over the same topic, but the author did something really cool. The author wrote over the same topic, but guess what he did? He used 3 different authors' purpose for each paragraph. So this is paragraph A, B, and C. And we are going to read A, B, and C, and each of them, like I just said, has a different text structure. And let's see if you can figure out which one is which. And remember, we are only focusing on description, compare and contrast, and chronological sequence. So let's read A. So this is all about Disney, where dreams come true. So I'm going to read A. I'm first going to look for is it talking about 2 things? I'm then going to look, what are the transition words, the key words? What catches my eye about this? And then I'm going to maybe circle those things so that later on when I go back to figure out what the text structure is, I already have some ideas. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom is the first built of 4 theme parks at Walt Disney World. It opened on October 1971, and the park features rides and shows related to major Disney characters and fairy tales. Symbols of the Magic Kingdom include Cinderella's Castle, Main Street, USA, and rides like the famous Space Mountain Coaster. So after reading that, I noticed that it says the word the Magic Kingdom. It says it twice. And it gave me a bunch of facts about only the Magic Kingdom. There weren't 2 things. No. There weren't really any dates to tell me if it's chronological. There weren't 2 things for compare and contrast. There was just one thing it talked about and a bunch of facts that go with it. Okay, let's go ahead and let's read this one. Beginning in 1964, immediately I noticed this. Beginning in 1964. That beginning, that's like first, starting. That's a transition word, and it has a date with it. That makes me lean towards chronological sequence, but let's keep reading. Walt Disney started to buy millions of dollars worth of land in Florida. Then, oh my gosh, okay, I'm almost positive it's chronological sequence because it said beginning, which is like first. It said then, and it has years. Let's keep going. On November 15th, 1964, it has more dates. Walt arrived in Florida and told the world of his plans to build an even bigger and better amusement park than Disneyland. It would be the most spectacular in the world. When the Magic Kingdom opened in 1971, more dates. Mickey Mouse walked along the very first visitors, first, of the park. Between 1971 and 1973, 2 million people visited the Disney World. And in 1982, Epcot was added to Disney World, followed by Hollywood Studios, originally named Disney MGM Studios in 1989. The newest addition to Disney World is Animal Kingdom, a zoologically themed park opened in 1998. Now, new shows and attractions continue to open at all the Disney World theme parks. This one is in order. It starts at the very beginning of Disney World and it goes till today. I'm almost positive I know what that one is, but let's read this one just to make sure I'm right. Okay, Disney World and Disneyland. Oh my gosh. Just by the title. I've got Disney World, which is my first thing, Disneyland, which is my second thing. If I have 2 topics in a paragraph, I lean more towards compare and contrast. But we've got to figure out, is it telling us similarities and differences? So let's go see. So even though both both is a key word for compare and contrast. Even though both Disney World and Disneyland, again, 1 and 2, were built by Walt Disney himself, they are not the same theme park. Built in 1971, Orlando, Florida, the main park at Disney World, the Magic Kingdom features a huge Cinderella castle. Disneyland, on the other hand, we have another, on the other hand, is another transition word. So it told me facts right here about Disney World, right? Now we're going and he's going to tell me facts about Disneyland. Oh my gosh. I think I know what this one is. Was built in 1955 in California and features Sleeping Beauty's castle. While, that's another transition word. It's a key word in compare and contrast. While Disney World has 4 different theme parks, Disneyland only has 2. Even with their differences, they are both popular tourist destinations for children and adults. So after all these things that I just circled and underlined, what do you think? Which one is description? Which one is compare and contrast? And which one is chronological sequence? I want you to think right now, and either in your head or on a piece of paper, write down A, B, C, and tell me which one you think it is. And then when you unpause, I'll tell you the answer. So I hope with all of my keys and clues and whatever, we're not doing problem, solution, cause, and effect, so it could never have been any of those. So A, you should have clearly seen description. It had one thing, and it gave me facts about that one thing. B should have clearly been order and sequence. That's the same as saying chronological order and sequence, just shorter. So order and sequence, it has dates, it has the transition words, it starts at the beginning and goes all the way to the end. And then C should have most definitely been compare and contrast because it has 2 things and it tells me how they're the same and how they're different. All right, so today for your assignment, you are going to do 8 task cards. Yes, 8. Now, you're going to have to read the paragraph and you're going to tell me, is it compare and contrast, description, or chronological sequence? And on the card, you're going to write what it is. So here's what I would do. I would read through. I'm going to give you a little hint here. I would read through the paragraph. Automatically, I see 2 things here. 2 things there. Just a little hint for you. I see 2 things there. So if I think that this one is, let's say I think it is sequence, really big, I would put a text box in and I would put sequence really big across it after I've already read it. And then on this one, I would say maybe this one's compare and contrast. These are not the right answers, by the way, so don't write them down. Say that one's compare and contrast. This one you think is description. That's how you're going to answer the question. So really big text box across it or in it somewhere. Just after you finish reading it, write it really big on the paragraph, just like I did. So you can print these off and do it, or you can just put a text box in with your PDF pen and write it really big across the task card. Okay, guys, I know this is kind of a harder thing that we do, but I think that you can do it. I really think that you can do it and that you can do it all by yourself because I need to see what you know about this. So again, you have 3 choices: description, compare and contrast, chronological sequence. So all of those task cards should only have one of those 3 written down on there. And I will put the anchor chart down below to help you out with the clue words and the definition. All right, guys, I love y'all so much. Y'all have fun doing your assignment.